Keep in mind, the British folks are freaking out. They're like, this is bullshit. Why didn't you fucking help him? You guys are crazy. This is bullshit. What the fuck? Why don't you do something? And then they go up to this dude who is lying on the ground, choking and dying, and they just... Okay. Should I start that now? What time is it? 8:20? Okay, so Midsommar starts, and it starts really, really slow because it's mostly on this girl who's going through a crisis because her sister sends her emails that are really, really messed up, that are very, very dark and depressing, and make it seem like she's going to kill herself. And suicide is very serious, and if you feel like committing suicide, please reach out for help. Please contact a suicide hotline. Please go to a hospital and say, I'm thinking of hurting myself, and they will get you in contact with a counselor. Don't kill yourself. But in this movie, our main character, Danny, is dealing with the fact that her sister has sent some really messed up stuff. So she's in her room pacing. So she's in her room and she's pacing. Well, not her room, her apartment, which is basically a room. And she's pacing. She's pacing back and forth. And she calls her boyfriend. And her boyfriend kind of, he kind of pulls a dick move. And kind of puts down her feelings by saying, like, hey, your sister does this all the time, and puts you in an anxious space. Like, she'll be fine, everything will be fine. But then you look at the email, and she's like, Danny, I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna take the parents with me. And you're like, what the fuck? And then you cut to the boyfriend, and the boyfriend is at dinner with his homies. Can I sit at this table? Can I sit at the head of this table? I cannot, so I can't even crouch because I'm in my apartment. But he's at the head of the table, and his bros are on his left and his right, and the bros are like, hey man, you gotta dump this girl, bro. You gotta dump this girl. You've been leaving this band-aid on this wound for too long. And he's like, hey man, but what if I don't find anybody like her? What if I lose her and decide I want her back? And the guy's like, but you don't want her back, blah blah blah. And the other guy's like, yeah, it's not good for both of you. And then this one guy who's suspiciously foreign, he's like, hey, what about our Sweden trip? And then they're like, yeah, man, you're gonna get tons of Swedish vagina. And he's like, look, man, that's not cool. Whatever. And then he gets a call, and he's like, oh, it's Danny. And then this one guy's like, are you serious? And the other guys are like, oh, jeez. Because he calls her all the time. Because, she has needs. And she's worried. What a bitch. So, he gets the call, and one guy refuses to move, so then the two guys have to move, and he leaves. And as he leaves, he picks up the phone, and she is just sobbing, like the kind of sobbing where you're like, some shit has gone down. And it cuts to this really, really awesome scene where they go into her house, and it's clear that someone has rigged up the carbon dioxide from the car. Is it carbon dioxide? Is that what cars emit? It's not carbon monoxide, right? It's carbon dioxide. I just want to be scientifically correct as I tell this story of this movie. And then it shows that her sister has literally taped the hose from the car to her own face. And she put the other one taped into her parents' room. So she's killed herself and her parents. So the next scene that's important is her boyfriend sitting on the couch. Awesome scene. Haunting. Well, it's awesome at how haunting it is. That means the guy did a good job, Zach. So he's sitting on the couch with her just sobbing in his lap. And then the camera pulls in as she's sobbing over them into the back window behind them. And then we get a late title card that says Midsommar. Holy shit, shit's going off. So the next is kind of a montage of depression. Like, she's obviously pretending to be asleep, but she can't actually sleep. And then she goes to this party. And then at the party, which, let me see if I can exit here. Come on, guys. You're ruining my flow. You're ruining my flow. So, if this represents the party, she's hanging out with they're hanging out with some folks. And while they're all hanging out, one of her boyfriend's friends just drops the information. Hold on, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Where looks like some cool douchebag dudes. Wow, there's a smorgasbord of douchebag dudes. So, at the party, they're hanging out with all of his bros that were at that dinner. There's not enough dudes here. Not enough dudes. Shit. Yeah, just pretend that this whole group's together and they're more dudes than women. In fact, there's not many women friends at all that she has, which is kind of sad and probably what leads to most of the stuff in this movie. She depends on her boyfriend too much. So they're all sitting around, and then the guy's like, yeah, we're also all going to Sweden together soon. And then she's like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, we're going to Sweden in like 2 weeks. And he's like, were you gonna tell me about that? And she's like, and he's like, well, they don't have that fight there. They do that passive-aggressive couple thing where it's clear they're gonna have a fight in front of all the friends, but they're gonna wait until they leave. Why do you keep looking at me like that? Dude, look at your hat. Look at it, and look at your glasses. Fuck off. So, they have that awkward interaction, and then the next scene, they go back to the apartment. Oh, I thought she was crossing her arms and staring at me. Very defensive in Grand Theft Auto. So the next scene, they go back. They're going back into the apartment. I'm just getting all the stuff that takes place in the city out now, so when I go to the country, it can be a little abbreviated, because it is a very slow movie. But there's a lot of setup in the beginning. So they go back to one of their apartments, and they have a very passive-aggressive fight, because that's like the point of the movie. I mean, spoiler alert. They have a bad relationship, and that's kind of the point of the entire movie, is toxic relationships need to be, you know, something you take seriously and probably get out of early rather than later, or else you'll end up like this dude. So, they come back into the apartment, and she's like, so were you going to tell me about this trip? And he's like, yeah, we've been planning it for a while. I thought I had already brought it up, and I was going to bring it up soon, but then things got in the way. And she's like, okay, well, that's cool. And he's like, don't be upset. And she's like, I'm not upset that you're going. I'm upset that you didn't tell me. And then, you know, it's a classic couple fight that doesn't want to break up, even though they probably should. And then the next scene, after that fight, which is really weird, the boys are on the couch, right? Boys are on the couch. They're, like, doing their college work. And this dude comes in, and it's a really cool shot, and I wish I could recreate it here, because there's a TV above where the guys are sitting, and then the dude comes in. And when the dude comes in, I'm not watching TV. The dude comes in while everybody's sitting on the couch, and he's in front of them, and you could see him in the reflection on the thing behind him. I think it's a piece of artwork or maybe a TV. And he goes, hey guys, what's going on? Real quick, Danny's coming up. I invited her to Sweden, but I know she won't go. Invited her to Sweden, but I know she won't go. And they're all like, okay. He's like, but it was your idea to invite her. So just before she gets in. And she shows up and they're like, hey, girl, hey, what's up? Yeah, we're all friends. When really they're assholes and her boyfriend's a dick. And one of the dick friends is like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Probably going like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck? We're trying to get pussy. We're not going to do that with this chick around. And then the girl sits down with the foreign dude who I think his name's Pele or something. And he is really nice, and he's really cool, and he's like, hey, I just wanted to say, I'm glad you're going. I think it's something you need. I'm sorry for what happened. And she's like, yeah, you know, it's real tough, and she starts to cry a little bit, and he's like, I'm sorry, it's, you know, it's no big thing. And then the other guy on the couch who was there, he just gets up and walks away and gets a drink or some bullshit. And then they have a more private conversation about where they're going. And where they're going is to a secluded Swedish village for one of their anthropology. Wow. I just mixed up biology and anthropology. It's just, I don't know. I'm at half speed right now. So they're going to this remote Swedish village to partake in Midsommar festivities and festivals. It's something that happens only once every 90 years, and he invited all of his friends to go to Sweden. And he's excited that she's been invited and hopes she goes. She has a bit of a meltdown when he brings up her dead family again. And there's a really great scene that I can never recreate, but I wish I could, where, and God, I hope I have to get to the airport without being killed. I don't know if that's even possible right now. To the airport. To the airport. Yeah, this is dumb. I wish they didn't design the airport this way. Okay, I don't know why it matters really where I put it, because... Oh, hey, okay, bro. Alright. So the scene, which is really awesome, is as she's having a breakdown talking about her dead family, after having a conversation with a really nice foreign dude. Her boyfriend's named Christian, too. That's going to be slightly important, even though I probably won't even mention it again, but I'll say it right now. Also, other non-important factoids. One of his douchebag friends is that kid from Meet the Millers that has that very strange face. And I know he knows about it, and we know about it, and we don't talk about it, but his face is strange. It's the eyebrows. His face kind of looks fake, and we know it's weird, and we don't say it. And I'm sure he's a lovely gentleman. He's getting work, so he doesn't fucking care about my opinions. But for reals, his face is strange, which helped in this movie, and I'll explain that when I get there too. I mean, assuming I get there. What time is it? Oh, 8:30. Okay. Wait, I just fucking missed my turn talking about the dude from We're the Millers. Meet the Millers? We're the Millers. Other important points of this movie: the guy that plays Christian, the boyfriend, who's a dick. He was the dude in the Transformers Age of Extinction that explains to Mark Wahlberg why it's okay he can bang his underage daughter when he's of age. Yeah, that scene's fucked up. I don't know if you've taken the time to watch your Transformers recently, but there is a scene in a popular movie where a character who is banging an underage girl... Come again. I'm explaining it, Zach. Maybe my voice is a little too fast and manic to explain, but in Transformers 4 Age of Extinction, is that the... I think that's the correct subtitle. The Mark Wahlberg has a daughter. He also has a best friend who's TJ Miller, and they're both from Texas, and they're both supposed to have lived in Texas all their lives. Yeah, those accents don't match at all, and TJ Miller is much younger than Mark Wahlberg. Wow, flipped it. Got it. Anyhoozle, Marky Mark Wahlberg has a daughter, and she is 16 years old, and she has a boyfriend who is a competitive, like, racer guy. And this competitive racer guy has it out with Mark Wahlberg after he saves him from a Transformer, where he's like, "You're dating my daughter, but you're at least 18. And he goes, "Yeah, it's the Romeo and Juliet law." And he breaks out chapter and verse the law that allows him to bang his underage daughter. And Mark Wahlberg just has to go, "Okay." When it's like, no. No. That's not something you put in a movie. That's a big no thank you. Anyway. Let's see if I can pull this off. This is gonna be... Oh shit, that just means I'm gonna get out of the plane, right? Balls. Who thought that was a good idea? Oh, our good friend Michael Bay. It was add an explosion and add that shit about banging underage kids. Alright, so they fly to Sweden. Jeez. So they're flying to Sweden, and the way we cut to that scene is pretty rad, because she has a breakdown. Well, she has a crying moment when she's talking to Pelle, a P name that is foreign, in Swedish, most likely. And I'm not in... You love that TJ Miller was incinerated. I'm not into that dude at all. I kind of like TJ Miller, and then the more I find out about him and more stuff that I hear from him directly, I'm kind of like, no thanks. Kind of a big no thanks on the TJ Miller after, you know, hearing some shit. But Danny, we're back to Midsommar. She is having a crying fit in the bathroom, and the crying fit that she's having to the bathroom turns into her... The transition is great. She opens the door to the bathroom, and then it turns into the bathroom of a airplane, where she's having a fit on the airplane, so she's going to Sweden with the boys, with the bros. So she has a little bit of a cry moment in the bathroom, and then she goes back to sit with her boyfriend. Little burp. Second little burp there. I gotta figure out where there's like a mountain range for me to do this one part of the movie. It'd also be better if I did... Oh, I don't want to do this in the forest. Oh, wow. Gear is down. Gear is down. Oh, yeah. You're about to see some expert landing at an angle right here. So I hope you brought your seatbelts for your brains, because they're about to get blown. In first person. Oh, shit. I'm running out of... Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Okay. That was a terrible, terrible landing. I'm pretty sure I damaged the front of this plane. Alright. Alright. Okay. Whoa, shit. Did I hit that plane? I definitely hit that plane over there. Oh, 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 oh. Gonna hit the trailer. Gonna hit the trailer. With my wing. Oh, nope. Yep, I did. Doesn't matter. Get out of the plane. Okay, so they get off the plane in Sweden, and then they get in a car and they start driving. The asshole character, that's the dude from We're the Millers, he comments on how fine all the Swedish babes are. And they also make a comment, yeah, the Vikings just picked up all the hot women and brought them to Sweden. You know, real important anthropological discussion on the way to this remote area in Sweden. Kind of don't want to just take somebody out of a car. I mean, I could probably just steal a car out of someone's driveway. Feels a little less violent. You can also call for a car. What are they driving? They're driving an SUV. Doesn't really matter, because the car is basically irrelevant. I don't want to do this, buddy. Give me your van. Yep, taking your van. Okay. So, they get in the car, and they're driving to this dude's village. Now, for the record, only one of these guys is an anthropology major. The other guy is working on his thesis, but he doesn't know what the subject is yet. The other guy is working on his thesis, and it's about, like, cultures in... not rural cultures, like, secluded cultures. Cultures that aren't, like, untouched by modern man. And this guy, who seems to be real cool, just happens to be a part of one. And he describes it to Danny like, oh yeah, it's like a family. There's like a couple hundred of us, and we all live together, and we're all one big family. And he mentions that he lost his family when he was young, kind of like Danny lost her family. And she's, you know, she can't handle the talk, and I'm gonna get rid of the country. And I gotta figure out how to get on this freeway to get to north. You know what? Can I hop to the freeway on this? Oh wait, that is just... Oh, that might work. Oh shit, I might get hit by a train. That has nothing to do with Midsommar, but this is gonna be the... Alright. So, this train driving has nothing to do with Midsommar, but I'm already here, and it's gonna get me to my destination a little bit faster, and it kind of helps with the theme, because they just start driving into the woods. And it's a long time. They're driving a long time. And at one point, they stop in this empty field with basically nothing, and they meet up with another guy that's from this village who has friends from Britain. And that was kind of my first tell that something is not cool. If your good buddy from this village shows up with a bunch of college friends... Oh, I'm going into the tunnel. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm not gonna have much room for escape if something happens. Get to the end of this tunnel. Get to the end of this tunnel. Shit, there's another tunnel. Okay. Well, I guess this helps with Midsommar, because there's this feeling of just dread throughout the entire experience, where as you're participating in the movie, you're just like, something's going on. Because they get to this place and everybody is all smiles, and the first place they get to is this empty field where they just get drugs. They just get some hallucinogenic, I believe, magic mushrooms, and they just trip their fucking balls off. And Danny has a bit of an experience because, once again, if you're experiencing tragedy, she also gets peer pressured into taking the drugs. It's not very fucking cool. It's not very cool at all. The guys that pressure into doing it indirectly are complete assholes. But, oh shit. So, they have that trip. It's really well done, stylized. She's seeing really messed up stuff. I don't want to spoil exactly what she sees and what happens, but she has a trip. They find her asleep in the woods a couple hours later. I am in the sewer system? I am just completely lost now. Jeez. I don't know what's going on. Right now I'm just in... Where the fuck am I? This is my fault for having to do this in first person. Oh, shit. Oh. Okay. This is where you usually go up to the top of the mountain, I think. Alright. 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 Get to the street. Get to the street. Alright. We're at the street. Sweet. And we found an area. So... And it kind of looks like this too, which is perfect. Not as high or as ominous as the cliff that we need, but it's fine. I wonder if we can find people on the beach. Is there people on the beach? Anybody on the beach? So, they meet up with this crew, and they're all really nice people. They're all cool. They're all very welcoming. Some of them know English, because it's like a very secluded area in Sweden. And they're all being very cool with the Americans, with the British. Everybody's being sweet. And then they tell them, like, they give them a little view of the culture. There's, like, a lot of stuff put together of, well, this is where people sleep. They explain that they believe life is in cycles, where, I forgot the ages, but from one age to another age, you're a child. You all live together in this spot, and everybody treats you as a child, and everybody's your parent. Then you're at working age. Then you're at adult age where you train, and then when the cycle ends, she's like, well, what happens at the end of the cycle? And then the guy jokingly, like, says you die. He then mentions a part of the festivities tomorrow is this one ritual that the black guy knows, and nobody else knows what it is. And he doesn't tell them, which is a fucked up thing to do, because what it is... was this really, really long ritual. It's very drawn out, but it's very creepy, where clearly these two people are something, and then they go to this cliff, they cut their hands and put some blood on this rock, and then they go to the top of the cliff, and I believe they say something, and jump off the cliff. The woman goes first, jumps off head first, lands on a rock. Super fucked up. It's really crazy slow motion. They kind of play it like the Saving Private Ryan beach scene, where it's like you can't tell if it's slow motion, and you can't tell if it's like what exactly is changed, but like the sound is changing. It's muffled and weird. And the British folks are just freaking the fuck out. They are just not having it. Then the dude goes to jump, and he jumps feet first. And when he did that, I was like, yeah, you ain't gonna die from that height at feet first, bro. The lady friend, she thought right, which was jump head first, and you'll die instantly. She turned into straight up mush from the stomach up. It was just mush. It was just a mush person. And then this guy, he landed, and it was like, okay, well, you just broke your legs and made a lot of damage to your internal organs on the lower side, but you are 100% still alive. And as I said that to myself, the dude's eyes open, and he starts bleeding from the mouth because he's bleeding internally. And I was like, oh man, that's fucked up. And then I was like, what are they going to do with this guy? And a dude straight up has a giant hammer. I'm talking just a fucking crazy sized hammer. And he, with like 4 other people, walk up to this dude who is bleeding profusely. And keep in mind, the British folks are freaking out. They're like, this is bullshit. Why didn't you fucking help him? You guys are crazy. This is bullshit. What the fuck? Why don't you do something? And then they go up to this dude who is lying on the ground, choking and dying, and they just proceed to slam him in the face with the hammer. Rick, do you even know what I'm talking about? If you do, I'm excited, but do you know what I'm talking about? No fear? Oh, kapow. I was like, I thought that was the no fear symbol from those stickers and shirts back in the day. So yeah, they bash that dude's brains in, and it's slow motion, and they do have some close-ups, and they cut to Danny, and they cut to all the dudes. And it's pretty next level. Ari Aster, and this is where I'm gonna pontificate for a second about Ari Aster. Ari Aster does this thing with horror that is it's masterful. And I'm saying this dude because I saw Hereditary, and that made me depressed for basically an entire day. He has a way of taking something that in any other horror movie you would just brush off. In this movie, a dude jumps from what? I paid the mechanic. That dude didn't do shit. He didn't bring me my cars. He didn't fix anything. Property utility charge? God. Even in games, I'm paying fucking bills. But Ari Aster, I don't know why I got in the car. They have a full conversation next to the dead bodies and shit. I'm just gonna do donuts. Oh, look, there's other people. There's other people. No, they're not. What the hell? Who started this fire, and where are the people? So I can have fake dialogue with you. But Ari Aster, because that scene, a guy jumps off a cliff, he basically breaks his legs, he's bleeding eternally, and then someone just comes in and bashes his head with a hammer, and people take turns bashing his head with a hammer. That's something that in like a Jason movie, in a Freddy movie, you'd be like, yeah, okay. Alright. Shit happens. But the way he shoots it, and the way he films people's reactions, it's like, this is fucking horrible. This makes me feel like I'm there, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened. And I feel like this is a real living, breathing person, and he really died like this. He's genius. He makes fantastic movies. So, obviously, the people that aren't in this cult are freaking the fuck out, going, those people just killed themselves. What the fuck? You just killed that guy. And the matriarch of this family is like, look, guys. No, this is a part of life. Death is a part of life. And then they through smiles, explain why it's cool that the oldest people in their crew just committed fucking suicide. And for half a second, because it's expert, for half a second, you're kind of like, okay, all right. You know, I'm not super down with what happened, but you know, okay, you know, I mean, it's not my style. It's not my way of life, but you know, they're old. And you know, old people, you know, sometimes. But like for a half second, you kind of rationalize it. Like a half second. So the British people are like, oh, we don't give two fucks. We're out of here. And Danny and her boyfriend go through some more passive-aggressive shit. And her boyfriend then throws his academic dick around and tells the guy who came there for his project, hey, I want to do my project on this too. And he's like, you knew I was going to do this, find your own passion. Then they have a dick waving contest about academics. And then their whole part in the movie becomes competing for more information about this cult so they could write the better paper. Not a joke. Some motherfuckers just died off a cliff, and these dudes are arguing about whose paper is gonna be better based on the passion of the subject. It's fucking bonkers. It's one part of the movie that I was like, okay, if this happened earlier in the movie, I'd kind of be okay with it, because it makes sense. But the fact that this dude, I wish I remembered his name, but the fact that this dude knew what that was about to happen because the guy said what type of ritual it was, and he's like, for reals, dog? They're gonna do that? And then doesn't say to his friends, hey, by the way, you're gonna see some fucked up shit tomorrow. They're gonna do something that's kind of fucking crazy. He's an asshole. And then when his friend watched that happen, is like, man, I gotta write about this, man. I'm feeling the writing bug. I'm seeing this crazy shit happen, and you know what? I just gotta write about it, man. I think it's gonna be a good paper. And then they argue about it. Meanwhile, That dude's girlfriend's going through some shit. Her family just died from suicide, murder-suicide, and he's just like, yeah, babe, but my paper, though. Hey, I understand, but priorities. I got a sweet-ass paper to write, and my bro is now on my dick because I want to write it. So he's a terrible person. It's one of the reasons that I think the ending is so effective in terms of what happens. So that shit happens, and now we start doing what I like to call the horror movie false information game, where suddenly the British man of a couple, who, by the way, they're engaged, and that becomes a sticking point for the couple we're following because they've been together 4 years. They're not engaged. They're actually on the ropes. And the, you know, just a little tidbit of relationship issues, which I think is what the movie's about. And then, wow, I feel like I'm just a mile a minute, and nothing I'm saying about this movie makes sense. But Midsommar is a great movie, and you should watch it. That's the only thing you should take away from this, if anything, other than, you know, hopefully some laughs and a good time. But that's one of those invincible signs. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, the misinformation game, where suddenly the British guy is gone, and the lovely townspeople say, yeah, he went to go to the train because we can only take a person at a time. So he's at the train, they're going to come back for the female. And she's like, why would he do that? And he's like, because he didn't want to waste any time. It's bullshit. It's like, okay, that's horror movie shit 101. Obviously, they're lying to you. Just start running. Just start running. Just start running. I came in here because there's a hangar, and that's basically where most of the scene takes place, in a giant room where all the kids sleep. And it's just covered in, like, really weird drawings that some people would go, ah, cultural, but me would go, hey, these are implying some fucked up things, like cutting off pubes and putting them in food. It also involves, like, lighting bears on fire. There's a lot of naked dudes and naked women. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of weird to have around kids. I don't know what they mean, but it's making me immediately uncomfortable. And they're just living with it. They're living next to it, and they're enjoying it. So where was I going with this? People start disappearing. The rituals get weirder, and people start disappearing. The British couple, our American friends are told, you know, they got on the train, they're leaving. You don't hear anything about them. The guy who's there for his project, he is viewing this book, where you then find out the guy is like, oh yeah, is there like a little temple area? In like their little hut church, the guy shows them their book, which is like finger paints. Hold on, is that open? Is that little hut open? No, it is not. Okay, well, like, they're in here, and he's looking at the book, and the guy's like, hey, can I take pictures of that? And he goes, fuck no. No, you can't take pictures of it. And he's like, okay, well, what's going on here? And he's like, well, it gets painted by our oracle, and our oracle is developmentally disabled. And the reason he's developmentally disabled is because we purposefully breed through incest to make them developmentally disabled, because they're connected with the universe. They're not impaired by all the things that our intelligence give us. So he finger paints, and we interpret his finger paint. I don't understand why that's not see you later time. That's one of the... You watch someone kill themselves, and then you find out, oh, we're intentionally committing incest to create developmentally disabled people. Hey, it's time to leave. It's time to leave. It's time to scoot. It's time to get all your friends and go, hey, guess what? We're fucking Audi 5000. It is go time. And they're just like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Hey, can I take a picture of the book? And he goes, fuck no. So then the black guy, oh, I forgot to mention, this guy who's, he didn't die first, which is very progressive. He was there for the project. He breaks out of bed, which is, hold on, because they all live in this fucking weird-ass drawing shack. time is it? Oh man, I probably got to take a break so my back isn't completely destroyed. I'll do it at 9. Well, the first guy, the guy from Meet the Millers, he gets pulled out by a girl who he thinks wants to have sex with him. It's the guy that plays Chindy. Did I say that right? Chindy in The Good Place? In this movie, he's a dick. I don't know how he is in The Good Place, but he's a dick in Midsommar. He breaks out of the sleeping area while everybody's asleep. He goes down to the little hut, and he's taking pictures of the book, which is not what he's supposed to be doing. Cheaty from The Good Place, and I wish I knew his name from Midsommar. I probably should have put up all the info on my computer so I could have referenced it, and I didn't. It's fine. I didn't know what movie we were doing. And he turns around after seeing a reflection in the window in front of him, and he thinks it's his friend that went off to fuck the girl. And you're like, okay, what? And he's wearing pants that has a dick drawn on it, kind of like the dick towel from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That super funny joke. So I was like, okay, why is the dude rocking a dick towel? And boom, he gets hit in the head with something. And it turns out it's the developmentally disabled kid wearing the face of his friend. So his friend is dead. There's no doubt about that. He's dead somewhere and his face is gone. Straight up Face Off. I imagine the disabled kid loved Face Off. They said in the middle of the movie they said they were going to start Austin Powers. Also very strange. So yeah, that happens. So the dick friend and the friend doing they're both dicks. The dick friend who wanted to get laid and the dick who's writing the story are now missing. When they come outside the where they sleep and go to breakfast, I guess, at a big old table, the matriarch is like, hey, so the book's gone. Someone done stole that book. And they're like, wow, I'm so sorry. We don't know anything about this. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. And they're like, well, where's your friend? And he's like, we haven't seen him. He was gone when we woke up. I'm sorry about that. And then the movie really kicks into gear. Because our protagonist, Danny, and her boyfriend, Christian, get separated. And when they get separated, she gets put in some of their gear. She gets a nice robe with a rune on the front of it, and she gets told, hey, you're gonna be in the dance contest. So the dance contest is like this sweet live band playing some sweet tunes, and this lady is controlling them, and it's like something where it's like they met the dark man or something, the black man, and he told them to dance until they died. So now we dance in defiance of him, and the last person standing becomes May Queen. So they start dancing, and they're dancing, and they're dancing. And by the way, they were given some mushroom tea before this started. So they're dancing, and they're tripping, and they're dancing, and they're tripping, and they're dancing, and they be tripping. Boy, do they be tripping. And they're tripping, and they're tripping, and they're dancing, and they're tripping, and they're tripping, and they're dancing. And what I'm going to do is use this trip, dance situation to take a break. And I will be right back, maybe in like less than 5 minutes. Alright. Let's finish up this movie. So Midsommar, where were we? Oh, that's right. So Danny, she's tripping balls and she's dancing around this pole. Dancing, tripping balls, dancing, tripping balls, dancing, tripping balls around this pole. She's like, at one point she trips so hard that she starts speaking Swedish with somebody else who doesn't speak English. That's how hard she's tripping balls. So tripping. A lot of drug use in this movie. A lot more drug use than I expected. I thought it was just going to be straight, horror. But there was some, drug use of college-age kids. So she danced around the pole, and then some girls are running into each other and falling out, and running into each other, falling out. And all the while, like a lot of stuff where she's having fun Christian, her boyfriend, is being tested, as we say in Christian cultures, occasionally. Uh-oh. That sucks. Hope whoever is getting that siren doesn't come here, because they're just going to shoot me for dancing around this pole. So, while she's doing that, Christian is having a meeting. Is there a building that I can get into? Maybe. He's having a meeting with the matriarch of this crew, where they're like, hey, they want to talk to you. And he goes, okay. So he goes into this meeting, and he's like, look, I don't know where your book is. I'm sorry about your book. And she's like, the matriarch is like, straight up, so do you want to fuck this redhead girl that we have? And he's like, well, what? He's like, well, she has her eye on you, and your astrological signs are perfect. Don't know how they know that. And she wants to have sex with you. And he says, which is true, and happened earlier in the movie during one of the meals, he says, I think I ate one of her pubic hairs, and the woman said, probably. Another see you later time. Another see you later time. During a meal, he's eating like a pie or something, and he pulls out a pubic hair, and his asshole buddy, who's just there to get laid, and then doesn't get laid, he gets straight murdered. He's like, is that a fucking pube, dude? And he's like, I guess so. And he doesn't say no, he's just like, and leaves. So he starts watching his girlfriend dance. So he's here, she's around the pole dancing, freaking out. And he even catches the eye of the girl for like a second. He's not really looking at her, he's kind of just hanging out. A girl offers him something to drink. Turns out it's more fucking drug tea. And all of a sudden, his girlfriend becomes May Queen, right? And everybody's super excited. They're like hugging all over her. The real nice guy straight up kisses her. He tries to pull a fast one. Now, there is a conversation in this movie, and there's no way in hell I could recreate it. But there's a conversation in this movie where he straight up is like, hey, so is your boyfriend really a good boyfriend? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, what movie is this? Just got here. We're talking Midsommar. And I'm getting right to the end, so you're gonna get spoiled the fuck out of if you wanted to watch Midsommar. He has a conversation. We'll pretend they're right here. They're actually on a bed and talking to each other. He's like, is your boyfriend really a good boyfriend? And she's like, oh man, I don't know. And she's like, you need to be held. You need to be cared for. You need to be loved. And it's like, okay, bro, don't be sliding into her DMs when she has a fucking boyfriend. And sure enough, he's like, she's having like an anxiety attack. She's freaking out. And he's like, look, smell this. They're giving stuff to these like kids, like, smell this, drink this, and they're all just saying, yeah. No. Call me sheltered. Call me a little paranoid. Call me a little too protective. No fucking thank you. If I'm chilling in what seems like a cult with people surrounding me with like nice robes, and they got flower crowns, and they're giving us nothing but hugs and good times, and then they're like, hey, eat this, and I don't know what it is, that's a big no thank you. Especially after I watched two people kill themselves, and then you tried to explain it away. No thank you. See you later time. It was see you later time early in this movie for me. But he's like, hey, smell this. And she's like, no, I don't want to. And he goes, okay. And that was the key. He didn't force anything on her. So you're like, okay, he's a decent dude. But when she gets May Queen after this dance contest, I just realized how crazy this sounds if you don't have any context. But she wins this dance contest. Everybody's giving her hugs and like fucking like Swedish hell yeahs and like high fives and whatnot. And he just rolls up and just straight kisses her on the mouth, bro. Just a straight boom, getting it. He's like, oh, we're celebrating. Got it. Got some. Got a piece of that Danny mouth. And you're like, wow, dude, that's a little weird. And then she gets the head table. Oh, I got $2,000 for good behavior. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I have no idea. Gonna have to watch it. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm going to. And I think about halfway through, it's not gonna matter much, and it's such an artfully made film. Man, this fucking van is fucked up. She She wins May Queen. Her boyfriend gets some shitty seat halfway down the line. And while he's sitting there, she's getting all this, like, adoration, and, like, they have all these traditions that they're doing with her, and they're, like, being cool. Is that crying laughter? Oh. Well, I don't want to spoil it. I feel bad spoiling movies for people, but if you want to watch, I don't know how, I mean, so it's, without context, it's not even going to make a lot of sense. But she wins this May Queen. They're sitting at the table, and then they're like, hey, you need to go do some more shit. You need to get into that little carriage. And she's like, can my boyfriend go? And they're like, fuck no. It's like really funny. They're like, no, he cannot go. And she's like, okay. She gets into this thing, which is pulled by ladies, and they do this really funny thing. It made me laugh. Because, well, thank you. Thank you for the support. Because I feel ridiculous right now. But during Midsommar, she gets May Queen, and then she gets into this, like, straight-up carriage that's pulled by women. And no joke, all of the women who are about to carry, or about to push for it, and the women on the sides that let her in, they all do this pose, like this action pose, like, ha! Where they're all pointing in the direction that they're gonna go. It was really fucking funny. That part made me laugh out loud, which I was like, this is supposed to be a really tension-filled movie, but that fucking got me. It was just like, ha! We're going north! Oh, fuck, I'm making myself laugh. So, they're driving her around. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere important, but they're just getting her away, guys. Because back at the table, that redhead girl left that wants to bang Christian, Danny's boyfriend. And another girl comes out pouring roses from some direction to where Christian's sitting. And Christian is real fucked up on drugs. I'm saying super fucked up on drugs. Because at one point he looks to a guy and he's like, what's going on? And he just claps in front of his face, and like the noise screws with his mind. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. He's like this. He's like, it looks like he's gonna vomit. So he... Okay. Hopefully I can get into that. Can I get in, not into that barn, because I already used that barn. Can I get into this barn? I can't just use the other barn, but it'd be better if I didn't have to. So, I guess I'm gonna have to. So he's sitting at the table, and he's following these roses, and these roses lead to a room. And there's a dude with, like, a weird face covering. Like, it's all real, like, weird and stupid, all these stupid rituals. And he opens the door, and that redheaded girl is sitting on a bed of flowers, naked. And there are about 6 naked chicks around him, and you're thinking, oh wow, that's probably real sexy, horror movie sex. You would be wrong, sir. They are of varying ages and body types. Some are not very sexually attractive, and that's okay. You know, we all have different bodies. It was very cool that they weren't like, hey, let's get 6 supermodels. It was like, no, let's get 6 women of different ages, body types, and, you know, lives. And put him in this scene. And then there's a girl who at this point, I was like, okay, I'm uncomfortable because she looks a little young. Gonna be honest with myself. She looks a little young, and he walks up, he's high out of his fucking mind. He walks up, and as he's getting closer, he takes off his robe. Well, no, he doesn't even do that. Some other guy comes in, some other woman takes off his robe. He's straight naked, just flaccid. He rolls up to her, and he starts boning. And as he's boning, there's these women, and they're like, oh shit, I dropped the controller. So as he's boning, as he's getting his bone on, these women are like waving in the background. They're like waving, naked. They're just waving and waving. And at one point, a woman crouches down at her face and his face as he's boning her face to face, and she starts singing in Swedish to both of them. Weird. I mean, the mood's already weird. Having sex in front of people is already weird, but that's also weird. A woman singing in Swedish. Then another woman who... this is gonna sound slightly mean, but if a woman was gonna do this, I wouldn't want her to look how this woman looks. So one of the women on the end rolls up behind our boy Christian as he's, you know, having some sex, and starts pushing on his ass cheeks to make him go faster. It's awkward. It's real weird. It's a weird situation. And then the girl that he's boning is like, just looks at him and says, "Finish," in Swedish. Finish in Swedish. And he does. And she says to the woman above her, "Oh, I can feel the baby inside of me," and starts doing the yoga poses. Or I don't know if they're yoga poses. Started doing the exercises from the Big Lebowski when Maud Lebowski wanted to have a kid. Okay, I'm telling you the weirdest part, Spectre. I'm telling you the absolute weirdest part. It's a great fucking movie. I'm just telling you the weirdest possible part. So, he gets up, he realizes he's cheated on his girlfriend. Meanwhile, this whole scene got a big laugh in my theater. It's really fucking funny and crazy. Well, in the meantime, they're having that weird Swedish sex party. His girlfriend has this big, you know, tradition. They like bury meat, and they do a bunch of chanting in the fucking woods. I don't know what the fuck's going on. And she rolls up to this door because she hears some moaning. She hears some moaning in this room. I see you, Zach. It was a weird scene. It's very uncomfortable, very weird, dreadish thing. And she hears moaning, and the woman's like, no, we're going to talk to this person. That's not for you, the moaning. And Danny, who's the May Queen, is like, you know what? I'm going to make my own fucking rules. I'm the goddamn May Queen. So she goes down to where she hears the moaning, because all the ladies are moaning with this redhead girl who is moaning because she's getting boned by Christian. She's getting boned down. And she goes to the keyhole and sees her boyfriend boning this redhead amongst a bunch of ladies. And I'm not gonna, you know, and I'm not gonna blame her for freaking out. It's a weird thing to see, but also after all the crazy shit you've been doing here, are you really that surprised your boyfriend's cheating on you? You've seen crazy shit. I'm talking next level uncomfortable shit. And then you see the keyhole and you're like, my suspicions are true. My boyfriend's a douchebag. He's an asshole. He's an opportunist. And sure, he's banging this girl who I don't think is 18. Especially after she started talking and I got a good look at her facial features. She doesn't feel 18 years old. Made it very uncomfortable. So she runs to the living quarters, which I'm going to pretend is here and I can't get into. And this scene almost made me emotional. I'm being honest with you. I'm being vulnerable with all of you. Because she's having an anxiety attack on her bed. Like a textbook anxiety attack on the bed that they gave her. And this crew of women that have been, you know, they were the women that were like, ha-ha! Like they were the women taking her to the middle of the woods to do these things. They start moaning with her. In the trailer, I thought they were forcing her to do something with this scene, but they were literally feeling her pain. It was like an empathy circle of women staring at each other and screaming and moaning together because one of them is experiencing deep, dark pain. And I was like, hot damn, like this is from fucking, oh wait, why did I get into the van? All right, I shouldn't have gotten in the van. So they're having that moment. Our boy Christian finishes up. He gave her the go juice to get preggers, and he's naked. He is butt ass naked, and he just starts fucking running. I'm talking running like a crazy motherfucker. And he hears the girls in the living area like moaning, and he's like, oh, some fucking weird shit's going on there. I've had enough weird shit. I'm high as balls, and I'm just running. I'm running to get the fuck out of here. Something he should have done hours earlier, days earlier. He's running, and he runs to a garden, and he sees a leg sticking out of the ground that looks a lot like his friend's leg. And he's running. Keep in mind, he's running with dick and balls in hand. Like, men who are listening and watching, which I think are the only people listening and watching. Oh, I could have done this for the jumping off and I could have done it myself. Not important. We're past that point. He's running dick and balls just as fast as he can anywhere. Convenient. He comes to a little hen house, like a chicken coop, and he sees the British guy hanging upside down. It looks like little wings were made out of his muscles in his back. It's one of those things where it's macabre, but it's also beautiful. Kind of like a lot of the imagery in Dexter, if you watch that show. Like a lot of really crazy, artistic, fucked up shit in this movie. And he sees him, and he's like, oh my fucking god. He's hanging upside down. Oh, wow. That's creepy. What's up, dude? Just doing Midsommar. Just doing Midsommar in your little area here. I'll be gone. Real quick. Well, where are you? Okay. All right. Don't have to roll up on me like that. Jeez. So. Oh, shit. What? I did not do that on purpose. Okay. I don't know. Are you okay? Do not start fighting me. Okay. Where's your clipboard? You had a... Okay. Well, you know. No one was harmed. That dude freaked me out. He freaked me out, dude. I'm trying to retell Midsommar. So he does something really interesting where he bends down to look at the guy's face, which has they put flowers in his eyes. Whew. Okay, and when he gets up and turns around, they throw some powder in his face. They go, "Pow!" And he then straight passes out and falls over. Is there a way to fall over in first person? Because they do this in first person where he falls over. That was fantastic. Thank you. Okay, if I fall off this roof, he might do it. Because in that scene, he gets hit with the powder, and he takes a header to the ground. Oh, shit. Well, it doesn't matter. So it's now first person. He takes a header to the ground, and he wakes up, and he's woken up by one of these women of the community, and she says to him, "Hey, Christian, you can't move, and you can't speak." And that's it. We then pull out, and we see a little, what is it? It's like a little platform. The beginning of this movie started out at this platform, too, and I didn't mention it. But they're at a platform. It's only slightly raised from the ground. And one of the matriarchs, one of the head honchos, he's like, "Oh, what a great year. What a great year for us." Oh, hay bales. Perfect. We've been brought such a great bounty of 9 lives because we got our friends from, what's his name, the 2 British people. We got our 3 Americans, or the two Americans from Pele, I think his name was. We have 2 of our own volunteers, and these guys step forward that are some of the cult members that we've seen before. We have the 2 that volunteered, or that were a part of it, that were old. So that makes 8, and we need 9. So now is the time when our May Queen will choose between Christian, her shitty boyfriend who's cheated on her, and just a random citizen we're going to choose by lottery. And they straight up have a lottery spinner, and they pull it out and say a dude's name, and then they put them next to each other. So now Danny is looking at both of them. She's also wearing this pretty bitchin' like rose dress. Not rose. It's not roses. It's oh, what's the word? Flowers of all kinds. And what's up? What's up, dude? Doing a movie over here. And they say, so choose between. Oh, will that burn? It's important. Burn. I think it'll probably look better than that one. So, oh, he's putting the tractor in there. I don't want to burn that. Then I'm going to get a police involvement. So, she doesn't say who she chooses. Oh, she's wearing this big flower crown and big flower power, like, cloak thing. It then instead cuts to them preparing all these other bodies. Like, it shows all the dead people that we expected. and the two dudes that volunteered, and they're all getting set up in this shack. And we also see a bear. And we saw a bear in the beginning of the movie, and they're like, what is that about? He's like, it's a bear. And this guy is telling the kids what to do with the bear's insides. And you're like, okay, so what are we doing with this bear? Then we see Christian, who cannot move and cannot speak, next to the bear. And we see them lifting him up to the bear, which has now been emptied. And then he gets placed in this thing with all these dead people. And the two volunteers from the cult who are given, like, this weird drug. And they're told, like, you won't feel anything. It's from the certain tree. And then they put it on their mouth. And then they set Christian up in this bear. Like a straight up bear, which made me think, okay, all the connections to Wicker Man. Now you're just poking at Wicker Man. And if anybody knows about the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man, the bear thing and being inside a bear, that's some that's some poking him right in the stomach and shit that I found really funny. So he's inside this bear. And then everybody else is outside this building of 9 people. 3 of them are still alive. The others have been made into grotesque forms of what they once were with their dead bodies. The kid who didn't have a face, because the developmentally disabled kid wore it, he's just been, like, thrown on his face has just been thrown on, like, a big bale of hay. And, and they threw him in. The people that their bodies were crushed after jumping off a cliff, they're just kind of, like, in these deformed sacks of shit. And they're in there, and then other people, they all look really fucked up. And then they just set the fucking thing on fire. Do I have them? If I don't have them... Oh, I do. I do. Guys, this is gonna be awesome. Because I have a jerry can, and I believe I have Molotov cocktails. This is gonna work great. Oh, man. I may not have enough gasoline, though. Oh, I don't know if I have enough gas. Okay, alright, hey. Alright. Oh my gosh, first person GTA, when you're trying to do stuff like this, is just not agreeable. What am I stuck on? This damn shit. Oh my gosh. Okay, we get it. So all of these people, some of them innocent, some of them part of this cult, are inside this building. Why can't I go around this thing when I have that equipped? I don't know. It's very frustrating. Alright. And we should be good. Because I have no idea where I even started with this. Okay. Now, do I have... I do. Okay, and then they just set this shit on fucking fire. Why aren't you connecting? And then the movie ends. I had one? Oh, you bastards. You bastards. Okay, well, this is definitely not as fantastic as I wanted it to look. But imagine this entire thing is on fire, and it's beautiful and gorgeous, and the way it's shot is fantastic. And everybody in the village is, like, screaming and yelling and freaking out, because then you cut to Danny, and she's freaking out. She's having, like, a panic attack. She's, like, doubled over. She has just murdered her ex-boyfriend. I mean, it's her ex-boyfriend now. And then it kind of slows up, and they kind of superimpose both scenes, the thing burning down, and her face, and she has, like, the most beautiful smile. This movie, the only time she smiled is when she was high as balls on mushrooms in the middle of this field, chilling with these crazy people. But she wasn't really smiling. She was dealing with a lot of horrible, terrible shit at the beginning of this movie, and now she's watching her boyfriend burn in a bear suit in this fire with a bunch of her ex-boyfriend's friends who were dicks, and she has a big smile on her face. I imagine what I wanted to do was try out a video series and have Midsommar be a part of it, where I give a full review. But I will say it's an awesome movie, and it deserves your appreciation and your watch. Even if I have basically explained the entire thing, it is a movie that has slow-moving dread throughout that really, you know, ratchets it up. Very, very slowly until it's, like, unbearable, and then when shit kicks off, it's just next level, and I loved, the whole thing. It didn't fuck me up like Hereditary. That fucked me up for an entire day, but that was because I had no idea what I was getting into. I just want to blow that up because fuck that guy.